that can get them going. Making his little jump shot. I think for me personally, but that's just me, he's probably settling a little too much on the outside. You know, being aggressive and taking the ball to the back. So maybe get himself to the foul line. You know, now he hasn't shot the foul shot pretty, that well, and that could be a little thing there. I'm not sure, but I just think that he needs to get to a point where he's, getting himself to the basket, be it offensive rebounding or driving the ball a little more than some of the players that he's playing with.
How's John feeling right now?
A little under weather, so it'll be a game time thing with him, but it looked like he'll be a scratch for the most part. And I'm having a couple days of going, so he'll be a scratch.
What about Tyreke? The last couple weeks seems like he's found a little bit of consistency, 16, 16, 16. You know, how important is it for him to find, a little bit of a rhythm and that consistency?
Well, I thought settling Tyreke down into a position where he can lock in every single night, being an off guard in the NBA, I like what he does defensively. But I thought before he got hurt, he was at that 20-point range and was playing very, very well, was shooting a shot, driving, was really under control. Then he goes out with the injury. Now he had to get himself back again, and that kind of put him back. But I think recently he's been playing very well, doing some nice things, and getting a good rhythm for him. And I think him staying on the floor healthy is the key for him because he needs to continue to grow as an off guard and being able to take the shots in the spots on the floor that he needs. But I've always liked what he has the potential to be a really good defensive player at that position, being able to guard 6'6", being able to guard 2s, and be able to guard 3s when we need that. And when you have a chance to put one guy on one player in the league, to slow him down, not stopping but slowing down, you can move to the next player. How we slow the next player down, not have to worry about it. That's what Tyreke has brought.
Do you feel like there's so much young talent on the team? Mm-hmm. It's always been a question of getting to play together. Do you feel like they're on the verge, like a year from now, maybe?
Oh yeah, I think they're on track. The first thing you had to do is say, I got to keep chipping away the armor of my game. I got to keep knocking that down to where they understand that, your game will come out when you allow the team to grow. But right now I got a bunch of little alpha males. They go in, they wet this spot on the rug and that spot on the rug, and because they all want it. They're all young players still trying to establish themselves in the NBA. But as they can see, games that we play very, very well, how consistently can we be when the team plays well? Everyone benefits. When the team plays well, you start moving up the ladder. And I think we're still, in that little circle to where we're in an upward tick. But yet we have those moments where we may fall back because one guy may be hot tonight, the other guy may be cold tonight, but getting some consistency, like Tyreke Evans being consistent. I think DeMarcus Cousins was consistent for a long period of time, and now we get that next guy. Isaiah Thomas is starting to grow a little bit into a pretty good point guard. So I think we're there, but I just think that as we can continue to solidify our team, you got to just chip away at the me syndrome, and we get that. And most young teams, you get that. I've coached a lot of young teams, and a lot of young teams, that's what you get. And once they get beyond that, now you can start putting together the team benefits more than anything else.
In terms of Isaiah, how do you, he's a natural scorer. He's been a scorer since. How do you measure, level that off with being a point guard? The other night you let him take over and he won the game for you. Yeah, how do you measure that in terms of distribution?
Well, I still try to get him to show him film. I try to say that pass needs to be made. You look at your vision. You're going down the court, you're only looking at one side of the floor. So I try to get him to continue to see the floor, passes that should be made. You're working on your right-hand passes in practice, and on your individual skill work. Are you doing those things there? He's a student. He studies. He gets video and DVDs after practice, after every game. And he has a dynamic leadership. The guy, his leadership skills are off the chart. And he has that, and he has people that will follow him and want to follow him. I move beyond the stature of how small he is, and say, what? He's a good basketball player, and I don't worry about him on the floor and someone trying to take advantage of him, trying to post him up. He's a hard guy to post up, but he brings that toughness that you need. He brings the leadership that you need. I share with him, look at all the good guards in the league and what they do. They try to get their teammates involved first. Like you said, you have the ability to score. You've scored, and now I'm trying to bring you down from that. Hey, if you want to be a point guard in the NBA and a good one, and guess what? You may only average 12 points. But your teammates will get better because you're making them better. Then there'll be a moment in a game where you have to take over. Obviously, he played very well we played Boston at home, and then of course the last game he played had a very good floor game. The turnovers were down. I thought he was trying to overpass a couple times, and sometimes I share with him that space is your best friend on the basketball floor. when you go into spots as a small big man, I call them small big man, you're going to get yourself in trouble. You want to always have space on the floor so you can utilize your quickness. And I think he's growing into that. I think he's growing into that. I got to say to this young man, or say about him, he started for me earlier. Started obviously last year. I took him out of the lineup. Didn't see what I was seeing from him. He was always working and always saying, "Coach, I'm going to get my position back." And I said, "You got to keep working." And surely he kept working, but was always ready in those moments. And eventually got him back in the lineup, and he's doing a very good job there.
Has it taken Aaron longer than you thought to kind of, like you say, shake off the rust from being overseas for a year?
Well, I can't say for him, but I know because I played over there, and I know what happens sometimes when you go overseas and play. Sometimes the game is not the same for you, and when you're away from the NBA game a little bit. So I think sometimes it's there that it could be that possibility, but I think for him, getting his feel back, how he needs to play and how he wants to play, but along with those same lines of trying to get our other guys involved. I think he's another scoring point guard. We got another guy who's a scoring point guard, and trying to get him to play more of a passive role and trying to get other guys involved. And he's kind of been okay with some of the situations he's been in, and I would like for him to just continue to do what he does and call upon when he's ready. When I need him to play, he performs. And I think as a veteran player who's been in the league, but I think he can tell you that it has been an adjustment for him coming back from playing overseas, and because you can go overseas and average 20 points without even trying. I think coming back here now and fitting into a role where you're not the man, and now you got to allow other guys to play a little bit, that may be a little adjustment for him. Again, I don't know what he's thinking, but just from my observation and from being around players and from myself playing overseas and coming back, when you go overseas, if you don't go over there with the idea that and work as hard as you can in practices like you're going to play back in the NBA, you have a tendency to just get by on what you can possibly do over there. Now, I don't know what his practice was like over there, but I think when he came back, it probably wasn't the same.
Do you have any lasting memories from playing for the Worcester Counts?
Oh, my goodness. The
I knew
Worcester
Gary would like
Counts,
that.
man.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The first thing I heard when I got up there was people saying, Paktakana Yard, And, but, I enjoyed my time in Worcester. And the World Basketball League in the summertime. And Bob Cousy. I might have been involved with that team up there at that time.
Was it Rob Shoemaker?
Shoemaker was on the owners, yes.
Right, yeah.
But I think Bob was involved in there too.
Yeah.
And but having the summertime to play at the Centrum,
Right.
in Worcester and Worcester.
No,
and,
you had it right the first time.
Worcester?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I gotta make sure I get that.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed my time. The time I had, it kept me in really good shape because I went from there and I went to camp and came pretty close to making an NBA team.
Which team?
I went to Minnesota.
Okay.
I came very, very close. But I think because of not going to summer league and being able to play in basketball games all summer, I think that really helped me there. And then he got caught up in a contract deal again. They weren't eating contracts back then.
And what's the greatest challenge coaching and getting the best out of DeMarcus?
Well, you see, I don't think it's a challenge. I think it's like a lot of players. A lot of coaches got to deal with a player who wants to be really, really good, who wants to be great, but there's a process. And I think sometimes you want to skip A and B because the guy gets 20 and 10, and it's not a hard thing for him. So he can be a guy that's going to get 25 and 14, But now I'm trying to push him to do the other little things. As a coach, and have coached against him, but a coach who has peers in the league, this is what they say. And I want him to understand that, as a big man, teams are going to put you and get you involved in maybe picking roles. I want your defense to become really, really good in the NBA. And I think he's made strides. You can't say that this young man hasn't made some strides in his game and how he's held himself on the floor, all those things. But like a lot of young players, they're going to be strong, and no different than my oldest son, who's 16. He's going to be a little strong, give him the rules and the guidelines, and then we stay within those guidelines. But I think the young man is really trying to become a quality player, and all we have to do, he's 22, on the move for 23. We have to wait until he gets to a certain point on his cycle. That cycle is moving in an upward tick, and who knows when it happens, because once it kicks in, then we're going to have a real special player in the league, on our team. But we have to deal with some of the things that pop up for young players right now. You go back through the history of the league, and you look at all the very, very talented young players, and they have some little issues, but issues that are controllable. And for me, it's not a hard thing. I think my background from where I started off coaching and dealing with different players and types of players, this is an easy thing for me to do. My goal is still to get him to that point where he's an honorable mention all defensive player. He can get to that point and become a defensive player because we know about his offensive skills and his ability that he's capable of doing. The guy handles the ball like a guard. He got a good jump shot. His post-up game is developing, and I think as he develops that, that will start putting him in that position to where he can be counted on every night as a go-to guy. The adjustment he has to make now. Teams starting to double team now, and now he has to pass out of the doubles. Teams are starting to front him and try to take him from having a catch. That run he was on doing a couple games back to where he was playing very, very well, I think that was a big adjustment, teams, how they were playing him. And I think, he handled it pretty well. And now, his numbers should have been an all-star, but obviously that didn't happen for him, and now it's a readjustment. I don't know if that was an issue, but you got to readjust now and get himself going again.
One of his goals. Do you think that was in the back of his mind that I can get in the game, and that maybe that did affect him more than any of us would have guessed?
Yeah. I think you have a goal that you think you can get to, and it didn't happen. And I have a player that I had for a couple of years, and coach as assistant and coach as the head coach, Monte Ellis. And Monte Ellis was the same way, played great, was doing phenomenal, and was right on the cuffs every year to probably making it. And although they may say it, it doesn't bother me. I'm going to go and play. But you're human, and it's going to bother you a little bit. When you play as well as a lot of the players that did get selected, it does bother you a little bit. But you regroup. You got a chance to make another 15 All-Stars, games. So that's what you have to focus on. Keep getting your game better and keep getting yourself better as you move through the league and then move through your career.
So when you see the announcement for that rookie sophomore game, Isaiah really wanted to get in that. Do you monitor him or maybe Thomas a little bit before the game, wonder if they're going to have their heads in?
No, I just focus on, I got to deal with the personnel on that floor there first, the big floor, and deal with them out there first. And, as always, my job is how can I push them to become really good players? And then when you do those things, everything will take care of itself. And sure, you have a little down feeling if it doesn't happen for you, but the job for myself, the coaching staff, and everyone involved is to get them back up quickly as we can to get them ready for the next game. Because one thing about it, we still got a game to play when the selection is made or not made.